Who else do we have on the line, just to make sure that we have everyone connected?
Yes, this is Holly Pierce.
Thank you, Holly.
I was told Mayor Tubbs was not going to join us today.
Correct.
Okay. So we have a quorum. Can we ready to get started?
Ready.
Okay. All right. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May 21st Victim Compensation Board meeting. If you could please call roll, Michelle.
Chairperson Pearson.
Here.
Member Shavaro.
Here.
If you can join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Why don't we move to item 1, which is approval of the minutes of the April 16, 2020 board meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the April 16, 2020 board meeting minutes?
Move approval.
I second that motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded that the April 16, 2020 board meeting minutes be adopted. All in favor say aye. Aye. The motion to approve the minutes passes. Let's move to item number 2, which is public comment on items not on the agenda. And this is the opportunity for members of the public to comment, as I said, on items that are not on the agenda. So if you'd like to make a public comment, please unmute your phone, state your name for the record, but I would also like to caution you that during this comment period, the board may not discuss or take any action on any item raised during this public comment except to decide whether to place the matter on a subsequent agenda. Michelle, is there anyone on the phone from the public who would like to address the board?
No, there is not.
Okay.
Oh, wait. This is Stephanie from CAST. Is this the appropriate spot for us to make public comment? I'm here with Deborah.
We actually have you slotted to speak when we're talking about the regulation matter.
Oh, great. Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine.
Okay. All right. Why don't we move to item 3, which is the Executive Officer Statement, which will be presented by Interim Executive Officer Linda Gledhill. Linda, if you could please give us your report.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair and members. Good morning. I wanted to update you on a few items at Cal VCB. Currently, the majority of staff continue to work from home as we continue to shelter in place. We plan on examining our work moving forward to anticipate how long we will be teleworking. The number of applications that we received in April decreased compared to April 2019. However, processing has increased significantly while we worked at home. Also, while calls into our customer care center also dropped in April, the average time a caller waited on hold also dropped significantly. So while we expect that as California opens back up, these numbers will increase, we look to continue to maintain our high level of service. We also are seeing an increase in the number of victim and victim advocates submitting applications online. In April, nearly half of our applications came through our online portal. So, and as you know, the COVID-19 has had a tremendous impact on the state's finances, and Governor Newsom's revised budget makes significant cuts. Cal VCB, of course, will make all the necessary adaptations as required. The May revise did leave intact the $23.5 million one-time general fund allocation to backfill the decline in the restitution fund. This funding will enable us to continue providing vital compensation payments to victims. And as I mentioned last month, Cal VCB is monitoring the proposed plea deal expected by Pacific Gas and Electric regarding the 2018 Camp Fire. The Butte County DA convened a grand jury, and PG&E is expected to plead guilty to 84 counts of involuntary manslaughter and 1 count of unlawfully causing a fire. The court date has been postponed several times due to COVID-19 closures, and the hearing is now currently set for June 16th. Cal VCB continues to work closely with the administration on this issue, and we are prepared to take applications from Camp Fire victims once the criminal charges are official. Finally, I want to let the board know of a key hire in our department. We have a new Deputy Executive Officer for the Victim Compensation Program, Natalie Mack. Natalie, who started on Monday, comes to us from the Employee Development Department. For the last 5 years, she's been in charge of the Central Office Division of the Disability Insurance Branch at EDD. And her running of this large, complex program has won praise throughout state government, and she has worked on several department-wide process improvement efforts. Her experience is well suited to our work, and we at CalVCB are very happy to have her on board. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
What was Natalie's last name, Linda?
It's Mack, M-A-C-K.
Okay. Well, congratulations on filling that very important position. You've covered a lot of important things during your update. Thank you for that. I don't have any questions, but I look forward to getting the recurring updates on all of these items. Board Member Chavarro, do you have any questions
Do not.
or comments? Okay, thank you. All right. Why don't we move to item 4, which is the contract update that will be presented by CalVCB Interim Executive Officer Linda Gledhill.
Thank you.
Linda?
Yes.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So for this, the second item on the agenda has been pulled. We're not asking for your approval of the website contract. The first one is informational only. This is a $130,000 contract with the Office of State Publishing to publish materials. This is part of the CalOES grant that I've mentioned at previous board meetings to provide advocates and providers more information about the CalVCB program.
Thank you. Will you be bringing a second item back to a future board meeting, or is it pulled for?
We are waiting to see if it's approved through agency and the Department of Finance because it requires an exemption.
Okay. Thank you for that. Board Member Chavarro, do you have any questions of Linda Gledhill? None? Okay. Why don't we move to item 5, which is the legislative update that will be presented by CalVCB Acting Chief Counsel Jenny Wong. Jenny, if you may proceed, please.
Morning.
Morning.
Assembly Bill 2649, Senate Bill 1076, and Senate Bill 1137 will not move forward this session. Assembly Bill 3043 has been amended to an unrelated subject and no longer affects restitution collection. Assembly Bill 2028 passed out of the Assembly Governmental Organization Committee and was referred to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Assembly Bill 3052 passed out of the Assembly Public Safety Committee and was referred to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. And Senate Bill 890 is scheduled to be heard in the Senate Judiciary Committee on May 22nd. And that is all I have.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Hearing none, let's move to item 6, which is the Penal Code Section 4900 claim of Ricky Leo Davis that will be presented by CalVCB Acting Chief Counsel Jenny Wong. Jenny, if you could please brief us on this item.
Yes. On March 30, 2020, Ricky Leo Davis submitted an application for compensation as an erroneously convicted person pursuant to Penal Code Section 4900. The application was based upon Davis' 10 years imprisonment for a 2005 conviction for murder, which was vacated on habeas based upon new DNA results that excluded Davis and implicated a new suspect. At the prosecutor's request, a finding of factual innocence issued on February 13, 2020. In light of this binding determination, the proposed decision recommends that the legislature appropriate $490,280 as payment to Davis, representing $140 for each of the 3,502 days that he was wrongfully imprisoned for this erroneous murder conviction. As agreed by both parties, this calculation excludes Davis overlapping confinement for 2 unrelated felony convictions for robbery and assault. Throughout these proceedings, Davis was represented by Melissa Dago Connell of the Northern California Innocence Project, and the Attorney General was represented by Deputy Attorney General Barton Bowers.
Is that the end of your report,
Yes.
Jenny?
Yes, that is.
Okay. It's my understanding that there are a couple of people who'd like to address the board on behalf of Mr. Davis. I believe that Melissa Dago Connell from the Northern California Innocence Project is on the line and would like to address the board.
Hi, good morning. Melissa Dago Connell here. Good morning, Chairwoman and board members. Shavaro, thank you so much. I actually would submit on the proposed decision before the board recommending payment for Mr. Davis's unlawful incarceration.
Thank you very much, Ms. O'Connell. It's my understanding that Deputy Attorney General Barton Bowers is also on the line and would like to address the board.
Yes, good morning. This is Deputy Attorney General Barton Bowers. The proposed decision is correct, and it should be adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. Do I have a motion on item 6 on the claim of Ricky Leo Davis?
I move approval on the basis that they had a finding of factual innocence.
Okay. I second that motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, it's been moved and seconded that staff's proposed decision to grant Ricky Leo Davis's application for compensation as an erroneously convicted person and that the legislature appropriate $490,280 be approved. All in favor say aye. Aye. The motion to adopt staff's proposed decision passes. Thank you all very much. Why don't we move to... Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item before I move on to item 7? Hearing none, let's move to item 7. And this is the Penal Code Section 4900 claim of Samuel Bonner that will be presented again by CalVCB Acting Chief Counsel Jenny Wong. Jenny, if you could please brief us on this item.
On October 24, 2019, Samuel Bonner submitted an application for compensation as an erroneously convicted person pursuant to Penal Code Section 4900. The application was based on Bonner's 36 years imprisonment for a 1982 conviction for first-degree murder with the special circumstance of robbery and a second conviction for robbery. Both convictions were dismissed by the Los Angeles County Superior Court because of Brady error and prosecutorial misconduct. The Los Angeles County Superior Court held that Bonner was factually innocent of both the first-degree murder and the robbery because the court found the informant's testimony was unreliable and every piece of evidence relied on during the preliminary hearing and trial had subsequently been discredited. The entire duration of Bonner's incarceration was solely attributable to these convictions, and no other convictions or sentences were imposed or stayed at any time. Accordingly, the proposed decision recommends, in accordance with the automatic compensation provision of Penal Code Section 4902, that the legislature appropriate $1,873,620 as payment to Bonner, representing $140 for each of the 13,383 days that he was wrongfully imprisoned.
Thank you, Jenny. Is that the end of your report?
Yes.
It's my understanding that there are some people who would like to address the board on this item. I believe there is Mr. Andrew Stein from the law offices of Stein and Marcus, who represented Mr. Bonner on this item.
Yes,
Is
good
he
morning
on the
to
line?
the board.
Good
Can
morning.
you hear me, the board? Good morning. Yes, I would just ask the board to adopt the findings and recommendations of the department and thank everyone for all the hard work they put into this case.
Thank you, Mr. Stein. Very much appreciate you speaking on behalf of your client. It's also my understanding that Judge Daniel Lowenthal would also like to address the board on this item. Is Judge Lowenthal on the line? Michelle, do you know if Judge Lowenthal is on the line?
No, it doesn't sound like he was able to get connected.
Okay. If he does during the remainder of the hearing, please let him through and we'll allow him to make some comments.
Of course.
It's also my understanding that Deputy Attorney General Barton Bowers would also like to address the board on this item.
Yes, this is Deputy Attorney General Barton Bowers. I'll simply submit on the proposed decision and wish Mr. Bonner good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bowers.
Thank you very much. Is Mr. Bonner, is he available to speak on his own behalf? It wasn't clear to me whether he was going to be addressing the board on this.
I think he's on the line. I gave him directions. He wanted to just thank the boards for their hard work in reaching this decision. Mr. Bonner, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Sam, do you want to say anything?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, they can.
Okay, yeah, I'm here now. I just appreciate everything, and like I say, in due time, justice has prevailed on this, and I appreciate everybody's taking their time, to give me what is due.
Thank you, Mr. Bonner. We appreciate you addressing the board on this, and good luck.
Okay, thank you much.
You're very welcome. Okay. Anyone else who would like to address the board on this item, Michelle?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion on item 7?
I move approval.
Okay. I second that motion. Any discussion? Being none, it's been moved and seconded that staff's proposed decision to grant Samuel Bonner's application for compensation as an erroneously convicted person, and that the legislature appropriate $1,873,620 be approved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion to adopt staff's proposed decision passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Why don't we move to the next portion of the agenda, and this is the Victim Compensation Program. This is Acting Chief Counsel Jenny Wong will present on a rulemaking package. Please proceed, Jenny.
On January 30, 2020, the California Victim Compensation Board authorized staff to proceed with regulatory action adopting Title II, Section 649.32.1 to comply with a legislative mandate in Assembly Bill 629 to adopt regulations by July 1st, 2020 that allow California Victim Compensation Board to rely on evidence other than official employment documentation in considering and approving an application for compensation equal to the loss of income or support that a victim incurs as a direct result of the victim's deprivation of liberty during the crime of human trafficking. After receiving approval to proceed with the proposed regulatory action, the board filed the proposed regulation and the initial statement of reasons with the Office of Administrative Law. The notice of rulemaking action was published on February 14, 2020, sent by mail or email to all interested parties, and placed on the board's website. All comments were carefully considered, responses were prepared, and the proposed regulation was revised accordingly. Staff requests that the board adopt the proposed regulation and authorize the executive officer to file the rulemaking record with the Office of Administrative Law for its review and approval.
Thank you, Jenny. Is that the end of your report?
Yes, that is.
Thank you. It's my understanding that we have a couple of people who would like to address the board on this item. I believe the first one being Stephanie Richard from the Coalition to Abolish Slavery and Trafficking.
Yes, thank you so much. So my name again is Stephanie Richard, and I'm the Senior Policy Advisor at CAST. CAST is one of the largest service providers in the country, serving all forms of trafficking victims, sex and labor, U.S. citizens and foreign nationals, men, women, and children. It's on behalf of survivors of trafficking that I'm calling into the board meeting today to offer personal thanks for the swift and helpful action taken by the board to implement AB 629, which ensures human trafficking survivors have access to lost income in the same way as other crime victims, and acknowledges that different types of documentation must be able to be provided to the board by trafficking survivors who are forced into commercial sex or labor to compensate them, at least in part, for the time they lost to their trafficker. I especially want to thank new Interim Director Linda Glenhill and Legislative Manager Neil Enyes for their work and responsiveness with CAST on this issue to ensure the most streamlined system for survivors of human trafficking to start applying for AB 629 benefits. And I'm very happy that the board is scheduled to take action today to adopt those regulations, and want to comment that in my 15 years of work on policy, I've never had anyone adopt regulations in advance of the deadline, and this one was July 1st. I'm also happy to report that some have already received this new benefit. And in this time of economic insecurity due to the pandemic, the timely implementation of this new benefit, as well as the speedy processing time at VCB, is even more important, as trafficking survivors are currently more vulnerable to re-exploitation and trafficking due to increased economic insecurity. So in closing, I just want to share one concrete example of a CAST survivor that was assisted by this new benefit. So a sex trafficking survivor who applied, and I believe was one of the first to receive a check under AB 629 for $10,000 after being trafficked for a year, reported to CAST that this money will now allow her to secure her own apartment for the first time ever. And I just want to say that it is due to the great work of CalVCP that this survivor is feeling secure about her access to housing despite the ongoing, pandemic and crisis. And therefore, on her behalf and the many others, this will assist. You have my heartfelt thanks. And with that, I want to turn it over to my colleague, Deborah Pembroke, an advocate at a rape crisis center and a trafficking survivor herself, who also wants to speak to the impact of AB 629 for survivors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. As Stephanie said, I'm Deborah Pembroke. I work for Monterey County Rape Crisis Center as Human Trafficking Outreach Manager, and I also chair the Coalition to End Human Trafficking in Santa Cruz and Monterey counties. And I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. I was trafficked from a young age until I was 17, and I came to California to rebuild my life while I was still a teenager. As indescribable as it was for me to be free from my trafficker, rebuilding my life was incredibly difficult. Navigating housing, finding a job, and just surviving was challenging every day because I left my trafficking with nothing. And today I see so many survivors in that same position, trying to rebuild their lives with no survivors. Survivors have complex lives that rarely fit the kind of one-fits-all strategies that are often all we have to give them. Far too often, the only option we can provide don't fit their real needs to their particular situation. And in the rare cases where survivors are able to leave with a small amount of resources that enable them to rebuild these lives, we see dramatically better incomes. But again, this is rare. With the passage of AB 629, it's been a real game changer. Recognizing survivors of human trafficking and allowing us to apply for lost wages just like any other crime victim means that survivors who are leaving trafficking today have what everyone needs to rebuild a safe and connected life. When I was trafficked, what happened to me wasn't called human trafficking, and California has done such important work to ensure that survivors are seen as we are, strong, resilient, and importantly, equally worthy. Human trafficking survivors have experienced a deeply traumatic crime, and we deserve to be treated equally with all other crime victims. And so I want to thank you all very much for the passage and implementation of AB 629, which makes clear that you're standing with us and that you see us.
Thank you very much, Ms. Richard and Ms. Pembroke, for taking the time to address the board today, and especially thank you, Ms. Pembroke, for sharing that personal story of yours. It's very impactful. Okay. Do I have a motion on this item?
Yeah, I move approval.
Okay, and I second that motion. Any discussion? Being none, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the proposed regulation and to authorize the executive officer to submit the final rulemaking record to the Office of Administrative Law for promulgation of new Section 649.32.1 in Title II of the California Code of Regulations for OAL's review and approval. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The motion to adopt the proposed regulation and to authorize the executive officer to submit the final rulemaking record to OAL passes. Thank you very much. Now the board will convene into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 11126, Subdivision C3, to discuss numbers 1 through 35 of the Victim Compensation Program. We will also be discussing a personnel matter pursuant to Government Code Section 11126, Subdivision A. So we will hang up and we will go into closed session, and then we will reconvene back into open session. Thank you. This is Holly Pearson. Michelle, are we back on?
I think we're just waiting for Member Shavaro.
Thank you.
Member Shavaro, are you on the line?
Rick is here.
Perfect.
Thank you. The board is reconvening into open session pursuant to Government Code Section 11126, Subdivision C3. The first item of business taken up in closed session was pursuant to Government Code Sections 11126.3 and 11125.2. The board reports that the board voted unanimously to appoint Linda Gledhill as Executive Officer effective today, May 21st, 2020. We are thrilled and excited to have Linda be the permanent Executive Officer of the VCB. She's done a great job as interim, and she's just going to continue doing a wonderful job in her permanent capacity. So congratulations, Linda. Turning to the other items, do I have a motion for numbers 1 through 35 of the Victim Compensation Program?
So moved.
Okay. I second that motion. All in favor say aye. So the motion to approve numbers 1 through 35 of the Victim Compensation Program passes. Is there any other business that needs to come before the board, Michelle? Or Member Shavaro? Seeing none, the meeting is adjourned. The next meeting is scheduled to occur on June 18th. And thank you very much and have a great rest of the day. Signing off.